Hi, you are listening to The Tea of Life, and this is Tiffany,
And this is April.
and this is our very first
Podcast
ever.
ever.
Totally unscripted. We are
Nope,
not
not-
reading a script here at
Nope,
all.
not reading a script. Didn't practice this. Take 3.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing. Move along. No, it's day. Okay, so speaking of tea, I have made a discovery.
And what is that discovery?
The discovery is, in this season of my life, I am strictly an iced tea drinker. I mean, I prefer iced tea, is what I need to say. I would love to be a hot tea drinker, but I prefer iced tea. What about you?
Well, I am a big iced tea drinker, and if you know me, if anybody knows me, you will know that I am constantly walking around with my iced tea in hand. Anywhere I go, everything I do, I have my iced tea with me, and to the point to where my son actually bought me a tumbler for Christmas, and it actually is covered in Pac-Man, which is another big fan of mine. I am very much into retro gaming, but yes, I love iced tea. I am a fan of hot tea,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm learning to like it more, and I'm trying to discover new teas that I like. One of my favorite hot teas would be a chai tea latte, which I'm not really sure how much tea is actually in a chai tea latte. However, it is one of my favorite hot tea drinks.
Same here. I can second that. Although you don't need to say chai tea because chai means tea. But
Oh,
that,
okay.
yes, I totally
I did
agree
not
with
know that.
you that a good cup of chai is great. Yes, I'm trying to become a hot tea drinker. Yes.
Very
I was gonna
cool.
say, oh, but I do like tea as in kombucha, making my
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of
Okay,
tea.
so I've seen that and I need to buy that. I usually buy kombucha for Brandon, my husband, because he is a huge kombucha lover.
Did I not
And
give
so,
you a SCOBY?
no,
I
you
did
did
not
not.
give you a
No,
SCOBY?
you did not. You
Okay.
promised me a SCOBY.
I will give you
But,
a SCOBY.
I wasn't going to say anything. But, no. I need to make my own. Um, but just to let you guys know, this is not going to be a podcast about tea. We are just
Right.
opening with tea because we love tea.
Tea. And why not?
And because we have our website. Mine is teatimewithtiffany.com.
And mine is teatimewithapril.com.
So we will have more on that later. But to introduce ourselves, April, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, Tiffany, I would love to tell you about a bit more about myself. My husband and I have 2 children. We have a 9.5-year-old. He'll be 10 in June. And then our girl Rylan, she's 8.5 now. She was 8 in October. So yes, they're close together, about 15, 16 months apart. And that's us. We don't have any dogs yet.
How long have you been married, April?
We've been married this will be year number 14.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Well, my name is Tiffany, and my husband Brandon and I have been married for about 20 years. Actually, we have been married for 20 years now, 20 years and 3 months.
Wow.
And we have 2 boys, and we currently homeschool our boys, which we have for the past 10 years. And I'm sure that we will have a podcast later on that.
Definitely.
But April and I are neighbors, and we've been neighbors now for about 8 years.
8 years, yes.
And
yes, 8 years.
Would you like to tell the story about exactly how we met?
I would love to. Thanks for asking. Well, the way I remember this going down is I was walking back up the hill from the cul-de-sac. So I was walking back up the hill, probably very tired and out of breath because it is a bit of a hill. Would you not agree?
It is a bit of a hill. It's really great when it ices over.
Yes, very fun. However, this particular day, I remember going up the hill and I remember seeing you carrying something out of your house, putting it in your car. And I asked you something of which I don't remember, but just to make some some sort of conversation
You
with you.
said, "Are you going on a trip?"
Okay. And you said,
No, I'm actually going to Bible study. And you said, "Well, why do you have your suitcase?" So I explained that I had a suitcase full of shoes because in our Bible study, we're actually going through the Joyce Meyer book, Eat the Cookie by the Shoes.
Mhm.
I invited you to the Bible study, and you um, politely declined
right.
that evening.
Right. Only because I don't remember if I had something to do or if it was just something I'm not a very
Probably not.
I'm not really not but I'm not a spontaneous person. So it like stresses me out to be asked something and then to just do that very next that thing right away. But I do remember saying, yes, I'd like to come next week. And I remember thinking, she's probably thinking, yeah, that's what they all say. Sure, she's going to come next week. But I actually was looking forward to it. And I did come that next week.
Yeah, and it was really cool. So that was actually the start of a brand new,
Super
awesome
duper.
friendship.
Yay.
And so April and I get together about once a week, and we have for the past few years.
Yes.
And we get together and we talk and pray and just basically throw up on each other.
Yes.
Anything
Yes,
that's going on in our
exactly.
life. And then we pray about it,
Sometimes
and
it's
then
messy.
we depart until the next week. And yes, sometimes it is very messy, but it's really cool because we're able to go through the triumphs and the trials with each other, and we get to see how God works in our
Mhm.
lives, um, and it's kind of really made us strong in our friendship and in our faith, and it's just been really cool.
Yes. And our kids are back there playing together and having a great time. Yes. And they love your dog. They come over here for your dog. They're very excited to watch your dog this weekend.
Awesome.
I did this. I said, hey guys, guess what? We're getting a dog this weekend. And Riley,
You did
yeah.
not.
And I said, hey, it's Remo. Oh. But they were. So they are very excited. I just think
So
I just
mean.
threw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Just,
okay. You're gonna have to repent.
It was
later.
funny.
Okay. So April, you had an exciting weekend, didn't you?
I did. I
So
did.
Tell us about your weekend.
Well, I'm on the women's team at my church. And this weekend was our retreat. So what that means to be on the women's retreat, a women's team, excuse me, is that there's a lot of planning and effort that goes along, of course, but that means we go up a day early, which I absolutely love, and we get ready for the ladies. And one of my tasks is to write cards for the women, and the scripture verse or something that God shares with me to give to them, and I enjoy that because that's just kind of a way that I feel like I can encourage people. But this year, I got to be a part of the talk, one of the sessions.
I'm sorry. I'm just
What
laughing
is the
because
noise?
we have a lightsaber going off in the background. So
I was waiting for Darth Vader to come by. So yeah, so that was a big retreat, and there's about 20 of us that went. Our topic was be brave, and the basis of it was Joshua 1:9, to be bold and courageous. Fear not, for the Lord your God is with you forever, wherever you go. That's the small part of that. That's like my version of that verse. But we talked about being brave. We talked about being brave in the practical ways of life. Because this year, I felt there's a lot of learning how to be brave, learning in how to get from point A to point B. So while other people talked, do you want me to go into that now? Okay. She's shaking her head. Then I have to go to my script. So sometimes there's the Jael from Judges 4, the Jael who drives the tent peg through sleeping Sisera's head kind of bravery. Or what about Hannah, who gives the child that she prays long and hard for? She gives him back over to the temple for the priest to raise in 1 Samuel. Or Esther, who is used by God to save her people from being annihilated. I'm not talking about that kind of bravery. I'm talking about the everyday bravery, the practical bravery, day to day, small things kind of bravery. And I kind of termed it as the Mary Martha bravery.
Very cool. And you know what book that I am reading right now is In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy
Very
Day
good.
by
Yeah.
Mark Batterson.
Babe.
Really cool book about bravery. And so that's very fitting to what you're talking about right now.
And Mark Batterson, is one of my favorite authors because his book Circle Maker. Remember we did that?
Oh yeah.
So we'll talk in a minute about that. But Circle Maker is just about Honi, the legend of Honi, who prayed. I think he was in over the region of there was a certain region that he was from, and there was a big drought, and it was supposed to normally there was times that it would in this particular season, it was supposed to rain, but there wasn't any rain. So he prayed for rain, and he drew a circle, and he stood in that circle, and he kept praying. He didn't leave until there was rain, and there was a little bit of a rain, a little bit of a rain, a little bit of rain, and he said, "Not for not such a rain as this have I prayed." And so he kept praying and kept pressing into the Lord, and there was a downpour, like a crazy torrential downpour. But he said, "I'm praying for a calm, steady storm, steady rain." And so that's what happened. He got that rain. He got that rain, and people thought he was kind of not the word crazy, but they thought he was kind of going against God, like how
Disrespectful.
disrespectful is exactly the word. But he wasn't. He was saying, "Lord, you told me that you're going to have rain, and I want all this. I want all of the blessing, the blessing for the most rain." So he just stood his ground, literally stood his ground, and didn't leave that circle until God made the rain. So the idea behind the circle maker, is to what God is calling you to do, to pray about. You you stand your ground. You pray scripture around that prayer. You don't just pray it and then go away from it. You just keep praying that until you see this come to fruition. Now, it doesn't mean you pray 24/7, but maybe it could. Maybe in the mind, as you do, as you do like breath prayers, or as you're going about your day, you kind of lift up that situation in prayer. And that's what really encouraged me, because the things that we prayed about took us some 3 years.
I think that, yeah, I think that sometimes, probably all the time, whenever we pray, we expect that result
Yes.
immediately. And I know that even when we were going through the Circle Maker and we were circling our prayers, um, I was expecting to see God move because I thought, okay, so I'm obedient going through this book, and we are working on this together, and we are believing together, and we're praying together. And so obviously, we're doing it all right. So obviously, God is going to move immediately. Well, He didn't, and it's now 3 years later, and we are starting to kind of see some of the prayers that we prayed 3 years ago to start to come to fulfillment.
Absolutely.
And it's just really cool to know that God remembered the prayers. And even though, sometimes I felt like giving up, or I felt like, what's the use? I don't want to do this anymore. God still heard and remembered our prayer, and He was honoring that at the same time. So it's really cool.
It was very cool. It's very encouraging, especially when, like you say, we haven't seen, kept praying, and then now we're seeing some of those things. Some of the things when we prayed a circle for your car. You're praying
to sell a car,
right.
And
you circled it,
and then I think we ended up circling another car to sell another car, and actually. We could probably circle a few more cars in the driveway to sell, and some motorcycles. But if anybody listening to this knows us at all, then you will know that we are, car and motorcycle people, I guess. So
yes, and if you want
constantly
your car
buying and selling,
sold,
but
circle it.
But I will say, we constantly buy and sell, but we constantly buy and sell with cash.
Yes, which would be
we
another
save up
podcast.
and pay cash. So yes. So very cool. Well, that sounds like that you had a pretty amazing weekend.
I did. There's lots of good things to take away from that weekend, but that was one of the highlights, is being able to share what God has done in my life through this book, Circle Maker, which I think is one of the books that has changed my life.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mark Batterson has written The Circle Maker, Wild Goose Chase, and In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day, which is actually a book that I am reading right now. I actually started it last year and put it down, but I picked it back up and I'm going through it again. And it's a pretty amazing book, but it's also about bravery, which is pretty timely from your weekend. It's just really cool.
That's what I think God is doing, and Other people have stories about maybe going through a serious illness or disease, or maybe they've lost someone important to them. And those are brave things as well. And I felt even coming into the weekend with my tiny little how to be brave, like with my journal or my circle prayers or my planners, I felt like, what do I have to offer? I don't have anything to stand up against these big bravery, other people who are, you know, serious, what I call serious things to be brave about. I felt like the Lord just said that I could encourage someone even in the small things. And just what I had to say may, yeah, if it encourages one person, then it's well worth it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You know what I think would be really cool if maybe some of our listeners could write in and tell us some ways that they feel like they have been brave or they're currently needing to be brave
Yes.
in a particular situation. I know that we all face different situations, big and small, where we need to be brave, and it would just be really cool to hear some of your stories and some things that maybe you are needing to be brave about right now.
Yes. And I think that's a great call to action. Saying, what is your brave for today? What's your own Mary Martha bravery that you need? What are small things that you've asked God to be courageous in? What in the day to day operations of your life are you terrified to do? Make your brave plan. How can we encourage one another? Yeah, how can we encourage one another? And that's another thing when I was talking in my notes, when I was things, giving suggestions that helped me, like a circle prayer, a circle prayers, um, or how I've used my planner, which could totally do another whole podcast on that. I love planners. But one of the things that I have is to call a friend to help pray with you and hold you accountable. Know who goes with you in the bravery battle. Who's your sisterhood? Of course, we have God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. We've got that. That's above all, right there, end all. But just that what He's given us is a sisterhood. And so I know when I've had some things go on this past year, I've called you up and you've come over and we've prayed right then. So yeah, it helps to have someone who you can who can be with you in the bravery battle.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I think that probably about wraps up our first podcast.
Yes, I think
right?
so.
I think that's a good note to end on. So we appreciate you guys listening today and hope that you will continue to tune in as we continue our podcasting and we get better. And it'd be really cool if you could listen and hear how we are able to grow
Right.
and be brave
And be
in
brave.
our podcast adventure.
Mhm.
We are very excited to be able to share some different ideas, and this is just going to be a podcast about just random things. I mean,
Mhm.
there's really we don't have any agenda as far as exactly what we want to talk about every podcast. So don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
There's going to be something here for everyone.
How can we encourage you? What teas can we drink for you?
Yeah, so
Oh.
you guys need to write in.
Like-
Let us know your favorite teas and what we
Yes.
should try.
How
And
you
also
think-
some ways that you have been brave or are being brave in the moment. We would love to hear from you guys. And we are going to sign out now. So if you would like to know more about me, I have a website. My website is teatimewithtiffany.com. And
I have a website, teatimewithapril.com, but right now you can find me at aprilabraham.com because that's a little easier because I haven't moved everything over. But yes, you can find, and please do so. My biggest readers right now are spam, so I would love if I could just have real people. That would be like awesome.
very cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Tea of Life.
See you next time.